What's going on, everybody? Thanks again for joining me for another BG Cast Wednesday live podcast. I'm just chatting with our guest. He's having some slight technical difficulties getting on right now, so just give me 1 second here. Oh, I see you. There he is.
Man.
Yes, you're in. What's up, man?
Fuck!
I am so glad. I'm so glad it worked. I'm so glad you're here.
I figured it out. I need a flip phone. I hate technology, and it can all go to hell. God bless Uncle Teddy.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Well, nonetheless, guys, I want to welcome to the stage Alan Thomas, aka Alex Freeman. What's going on, man? Thanks for joining me here tonight.
I cannot tell you how much I am appreciative of this invite, sir. I have been trying to have one of these conversations with you for so long. Oh God, how you doing?
I'm hanging in there, man. You know, it's been a week and it's only Wednesday, but you know, I'm alive and we're kicking, man. We're kicking. So let's start it off, man. What were you gonna say?
I said alive and breathing.
Alive and breathing, man. And no, man, you know, it's just sometimes, you know, it just seems it's been hotter than Satan's ass on a stainless steel chair in the seventh layer of hell out here in Colorado. So it's been just it's been one of those, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's every year here in Alabama. Just welcome this. It's Satan's armpit.
Satan's armpit, bro.
It just gets hotter, and August burns red in this state. Let me tell you, if I could reach higher elevations, I absolutely would. And to know how elevated you are in Colorado, man, and it's that hot, no thank you. I'll stay on the East Coast.
It is, man. It's like July's the balls to the wall month out here. It's normally very temperate every other month of the year, like, you know, in the early summer and spring and stuff like that. You know, it's like 50 60 in the morning. It gets up to like 70 80, but it's dry here. It's not like out there in Alabama where it's like wet and muggy, so it's a little bit different. But you know, nonetheless, man, let's kick it off. I want you, if you don't mind, let's
the weather.
I know, right? Yeah, I know, right? If you don't mind, let's talk about you for a minute, man. So why don't you tell you know, the listeners and the viewers a little bit about yourself? What caused you to be on the path that you are on today, and your expertise as well, man. You know, I really think you're a very credible and knowledgeable guy when it comes to a lot of things going on today. So let's hear it. Let's hear a little bit about yourself.
Any possible imaginable professional life I could have led, or anybody could lead, I've led. So the stories are endless and will fill pages and pages of books regarding, you know, life in Nepal, or the books I've read, the degrees I've earned, the degrees I haven't earned, as a matter of fact. I had one of my professors when I was in graduate school getting my PhD in political science tell me that I was well ahead of my time here at UNC. You need to be at Oxford, and I couldn't swing the trip. It's been a wild ride since then, and you know, I've over the years chosen family first, and have retired from political life and working on so and so, such and such things. But you know, when a passion grips you, you never let it go. And some things happened recently that I feel like it's about time to come out of retirement and have a discussion with some people about some things, because, you know, we're doing it to ourselves.
I 100% agree. No, I wholeheartedly, man. It's one of the biggest things I've seen, and we've known each other and we've been chatting now for pretty much almost a decade at this point, and I think you have we have a very good vantage point and a very good what I will say is scope of observation when it comes to a lot of the things going on right now. We saw the freedom community, and we were a part of the freedom community pre-2020, and we have seen now, we're in 2024. Now we're seeing the effects of everything that's kind of been culminating over the past 4 years, and yeah, no, I agree, man. We're totally doing this to ourselves at this point, and I hope we can really touch on that a bit too, because one of the biggest things I want to talk to you about is how our government is illegal. And it's literally well, let's begin with that, man. So let's
start there. Let's just go ahead and start there. Start with the big question. So no one wants to think about it, but as far as legality of our government, as a traveler travels down the road there rather loudly, the Republican National Convention and the Democratic National Party, or whatever, the DNC, RNC, they're private corporations. Let's start there. So, and with that moment, I'm going to take it all the way back to 1781. How did the Constitution originally set out the framework for this government? And it had a very few elite that were elected to state positions that got to choose who the president was. That got changed in 1812. That policy didn't last very long. They did it by constitutional amendment. And this whole recent debacle with whether or not a coup has taken place in the Democratic Party, well, whether it did or it didn't, it's protected by the 25th Amendment that was signed in the 1930s. Like, the best thing that I can equate this particular moment to is September 12th, 2001. Maybe September 13th. Maybe they waited a day or two before they introduced the Patriot Act. But never in the history of our government, except for maybe that moment, did at least half of the population just suddenly say, you know what? Nope. In spite of everything we know, in spite of everything we've seen, the machine of the private corporation is right. And we're going to go along with it. And essentially what, at least, I'm going to say 25%, because let's be honest, half of the voting population doesn't vote, and the Republican and Democratic parties are split just damn down the middle right now. So 25% of the populace said, you know what, I agree with the original Constitution without the amendments that say that we should maybe choose who our president is a different way. We're going to give it to this unbeholden group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's time to have a reevaluation of where we are as a country on just that basic principle.
I would totally agree, man. I think, I mean, even just based on what you're talking about there, we look at, September 11th, 2001. And, that was the day the population was put into what I would call a state of mesmerized terror. I've said this on the show ad nauseum. I don't really watch a lot of TV, but if there's one show, dude, I think you should really check out. It's the new season of Black Mirror, and it's the first episode of Joan is Awful. And they talk about how they keep people in a state of mesmerization.
The just finished up Supernatural, like all 574,673 episodes of it. So we're looking for something new. Black Mirror. I'm down for Black Mirror.
Definitely check it out, man. But it was so crazy because they basically had this quantum computer that was creating these simulated timelines and these simulated realities. And basically they were saying on how they need to keep people in a state of mesmerized terror so they continue to go along with these simulated instances and these simulated realities. So, I mean, that's basically, to me, September 11th, 2001 was the day they used that. They put the pretty much a lot of the, I mean, except for the ones who were questioning, and who saw it as a red flag from the get-go. But, we're talking about the consensual population here. I mean, yeah, they used the mesmerized terror on them to get them to agree with that.
And it continues to this day.
Absolutely.
The crazy thing, though, is like you can really trace that particular practice back to the ancient Romans and the Cursus Honorum and the Panem et Circenses, like the bread and circuses. Keep them distracted. Machiavelli, do you rule by fear or respect? Well, I guess our government has decided to rule by fear. Certainly the Israeli government has. What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive.
Oh, I'm telling you, man, it's I was even shocked that it has evolved into what it has at this point in time. I mean, it's especially with when 2020 came, we were all talking about it in the years before. We thought something was going to be, a some kind of financial thing that went down to kind of rein in a post-constitutional United States of America. We were thinking it could have been something financial. We were thinking it could have been some kind of, something that was not a virus. I think that was what really kind of, kind of definitely came out of left field. But I mean, the way that what it's evolved into at this point, man, is even surprises me sometimes. We're just going to put it that way.
I mean, they've figured out how to extract further riches from the lower castes and turn this economy completely into an investment class economy. And when you have an investment class economy, you have a small set of people that are able to, in most likely circumstances, no money originally of their own that helps them pay their own bills, pull profits out of anywhere else, whether it's Central Africa, whether it's the Middle East, whether it is your own little subdivision right next door down the road. That is a form of theft. That is a form of economic theft on a grand scale. And over the past couple of weeks, like I came on here, like I was all jazzed up about Kamala and the coup de grace that existed. But I mean, the economic coup that has happened since 2020, it's just guaranteeing profits for investors. But what every single person with a 401k or with that investment, let's play the market mindset, doesn't understand is that every time they invest in the market, they're investing in a corporation to extract profits from somewhere where somebody needs to be able to pay a bill. That's not trickle down economics. That's trickle up economics. And even since the 2008 financial crash, that's been happening on a grander and grander scale.
Absolutely. I would wholeheartedly agree, man. I think, we're looking at, I mean, especially to, one of the biggest things, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, the debt to GDP ratio right now is beyond what Britain in World War II had when they had their financial crash. Am I correct?
That's a statistic I have not seen. It really wouldn't surprise me, but then again, we make our calculations a whole lot differently now. If that's the proportion, that's pretty frightening. That coupled with watching the Bretton Woods Agreement fall apart and oil no longer being attached to the dollar, oh, that's going to be fun. Kids, buckle up.
I think I think right now, man, and you'd probably agree with this. I mean, to me, let me get your thoughts on this, because I mean, a lot of people say cognitive dissonance, and I'm gonna be 100% honest. I definitely think that comes into play with what we're talking about. I mean, at least that's what's going on right now. But to me, it's like almost some kind of mass hypnosis that's occurring.
It's
Like that's what it seems like. I mean, we can say cognitive dissonance all day long, but this to me is like a very extreme case.
No. 10, 15 years ago, absolutely I would. But today, I can't even argue with it because I think it's more understandable on biological terms that over the last 150, 170 years, we have developed this particular type of environment where this human species is socializing and integrating, interacting, and figuring out how to survive. And what is considered valuable and absolutely rewardable for that particular environment, for those particular individuals that are trying to make it through and adapt, those ethical questions fall by the wayside. It becomes more of a biological realm, and you see these people acting like animals. It doesn't matter where they live. It just happens to not be a rainforest jungle or the deserts of New Mexico or the mountains of New Hampshire.
No, I'm with you, man. It's definitely, I agree with what you're saying. It's on a biological level. It seems as if, though, at this point, things have just become so diluted. When we're looking, everything's become, I mean, people have become disengaged and unattached to what the true meanings of words are, what the true definition of how a government should be operating, with and thinking that the Constitution is up for interpretation, as opposed to it being something that represents the natural inherent freedoms that we have. I think this has all been done on what I would say over a larger timeline. We look at how it just seems to me that I don't want to say the average person, excuse me, is getting stupider, but at the same time,
the government might want to teach you the things that you need to know in order to overthrow it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and that's why we're taught we're taught a different set of civics when we go to high school, as opposed to what it really is. I mean, the number one thing being that the Federal Reserve is a branch of our government. That's one of the
another private corporation.
Exactly. And that's the biggest thing I think, like a lot of people still have yet to understand, is that we have these private corporations that are posing as government entities, and I think it's just
So I got to tell you this story, and it's kind of a pat on the back. humor me. So I've been telling various people about this podcast, like, ready for it. People that I normally wouldn't necessarily let fully into that circle. I'd like to stay invisible. But man, there was one in particular, couple in particular actually, came from the school that preceded my high school. And felt that great connection there. Another guy, an attorney, respect him very much. It's like, we probably don't have the same political views, but I want you to hear this. Like, people I just wouldn't let normally see all of this. And I shared with both of them an article that I had written back in 2015 that was republished by the Ron Paul Institute for Peace and Prosperity. It was about George Soros looking to co-own Ukraine. And I read that article again, man, and I was like, holy hell, I did that. I wrote that. That was well researched, and it really got to the point that the investor class mentality of this economy, extracting profits out of the least able to bear that extraction of value and ability to live, is absolutely destroying our world. And it's all of the corporations that are contributing to it. The corporations that can afford to purchase the government, the corporations that can afford to operate the machine that says, you know, we've watched Kamala Harris be an absolute retard for a year and a half on the international stage, but all of a sudden, within 4 hours on a Sunday, every single delegate across the country said, nope, she's my girl.
I know, man. It's breathtaking, is it not?
I'll tell you what I want. I want a D, none of the above answer. Vote them all out. Let's have a constitutional convention again, because apparently not one of our three branches of government can function successfully without complete chaos, questions of ethics. You know, there are TikToks of, hey, follow this House of Representatives stock moves, you'll get rich.
Oh yeah, I've seen these. I've seen them float around before.
Like, I think the American people one day will hopefully realize that instead of just allowing Kamala or Trump be the next nominees, we really took a stop and said, maybe we don't need a president right now. Maybe we don't need a Supreme Court right now. The House of Representatives cannot elect a leader, and Mitch McConnell is having strokes in front of us on live TV.
I mean, you're right, man. I mean,
government for a while will be fucking okay. You don't do shit as it is.
Dudes, I mean, and this is the thing. I personally think right now decentralization is the answer. You know, when we're talking about this, but you say that, and you know, the common person just their face turns white, because they're like, you know, they've been so, yeah.
The transition is real hard, man, and nobody has the final answer, especially with AI. Like, personally, that is one of you asked me a hard question before coming on this show. What song do you want to come on to? All right, the next hardest question is, well, what's the solution? I have been racking my brain about this for 25 years, and I haven't come up with it yet.
So I want to ask you this now. now, I've been entertaining a possible solution. Don't get me wrong, it's not my preferred route, but I see it as a halfway point for some certain people. And I mean, you're probably a little bit more educated on this than me. I've done my research on it. I'm sure there's more research to be done. Do you think potentially a form of minarchy could be a solution to what's going on right now? You can be honest. It's all good.
So I'm going to say yes, in the sense that I think the absolute ideal right now, provided that some treaty could be worked out, freedom of travel for a particular period of time, is for all of the different factions of what is currently the United States of America go be refugees, feel like home in places that you feel safest. If the border is the biggest issue and you don't want women to have any right to choose, and you want the Bible to be part of your social studies class, go to Texas, go to Oklahoma. You've got this amount of time to move. If you want your children to have the best health care possible, your daughters to be taken care of, that you can have medicine that isn't tainted by some family extracting billions of profits out of the mountains of West Virginia, then move to a Michigan or New Hampshire or Maine.
I'm with you.
Separate those Oklahomas and Texases and Michigans and Maines and New Hampshires. Erase those borders. Have those regions and break up the country. I almost said company, which, by some laws might actually be true. Freudian slip.
You wouldn't be wrong. You wouldn't be wrong. Yeah.
What was it, 1872? Is that the year?
Yeah, I think so. I think so, man. And no, and that's the thing, man.
That was an appropriate Freudian slip.
No. And like I said, you're not wrong, man. You're not. I mean, this is, we're dealing with the corporation of the United States of America at this time. And I've entertained that as a potential solution. Like I said, it's not what I would ideally want, but it gives the people their safety, because that's the biggest thing, because they have, I guess, what is it, in a minarchy, the non-aggression principles still apply of both the federal and state and county governments. I mean, they provide that, but I mean, that's I don't know if that would be the best solution, though. It's just something I've entertained.
One of the most promising things of ancient Athenian democracy is that those groups, those democratic groups, were in populations of, more often than not, less than 20,000. We don't have that anymore, except in rural America, where the town that I live in is about 7,400 people. The thing is, even in a town of 7,400 people, we apparently want our broadband internet and our Starbucks and all of the restaurants that we can go to get the best takeout food, because, Lord, this life is hard, and good food is what helps comfort us and get us through. We need this.
Mm-hmm. It's like, it's interesting to me, man. It's interesting to me because I'm curious, because I've heard a few different things. So during 2020, since you guys are in pretty much a rural town, you're in a smaller town, did they follow any of the things that were going on? Because I've been kind of seeing this surface a little bit lately with a few people, that a lot of and this wasn't broadcasted at all. Don't get me wrong.
Dude, I live in Trump company.
Okay. So okay.
No. I am hard and fast in Trump country, and I say very little.
I understand that, man.
It is that way.
Oh, I agree with you, man. I'm in Polish country, so I'm on the opposite end of that polarity, man. I'm in.
So at least you can find good pierogies.
Yes, we do. We do it.
My wife was born in Polish country in Michigan, and man, she makes some killer pierogies, dude. I haven't had them in so long.
Well, I think, dude, I'm telling you, man. I think it's time you get her to make some, dude, because I am a pierogi fan myself. And if you could freeze them and send them to Colorado, that would be appreciated.
We can work that out. We can work that out, my friend. This can be arranged, because when you start making a batch of pierogies, you have so many that you have to freeze some.
Okay.
So,
well,
we can work this out.
That would be fantastic. I'm never gonna turn down some homemade pierogies, man. But one thing I want to ask you, that's something we've talked about throughout the years. What do you feel personally in your heart? And I already know the answer to this, but I just want to see your explanation. Do you feel that there is some kind of, what I will say, occult nature to everything that's going on right now? What do you think about that?
I'm thinking. I'm thinking. Oh, man. No, I don't. Because if it was the occult that I knew, it would not be this violent. It would not be this predatory. If it was truly occult, the way ancient histories and religions and practices have taught it and passed down for thousands of years, humanity would not be behaving like this. And occult in that sense is yet one more moniker one more exclusion, one more racial or DEI exclusion that tries to paint the picture of the ancient ways that have worked for eons and generations. No, I don't think this is a cult. I think this is evil.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that, and I do think that that, I mean, you could potentially, you would probably agree with me on this as well. I've always tried to be positively optimistic on things. I still am, but the one thing, I am realistic also, and I think the darkness has kind of taken a new level as of late. I mean, do you agree with that? I think
Absolutely. And I think that darkness has taken place because what the universe values, what all religions profess to value, has been forgotten. And I am in no way any sort of fascist or citing Nietzsche. I think the fascists got it wrong. But Nietzsche said, y'all's values suck. The direction you're going is horrible. No, the occultists were right. The universe is, and balance with that is absolutely the way to go. And that means balance with all of the people. That doesn't mean extracting profits from them. That doesn't mean using organizing religion or government to put down a people, eradicate a people. No one ever gave anybody a license to do that. If you want to say what a cult is, and I'm not talking about a space cult. A cult says we're going about it all wrong. A space cult says you're committing genocide, you're destroying your own people, you're stealing from your own people, your own neighbors, and you're all doing it wrong under the guise of law.
100%. I 100% agree with you on that, man. And I that you've summed it up perfectly, at least in my eyes, because it is. We look at the traditional teachings of the occult, and the fundamental basis for a lot of the spiritualities, religions, philosophies, and things like that. Yes, we are going about this all wrong, 100%. And I think that is, in a lot of ways, it's starting to surface, and people are making these realizations, and hopefully that continues to happen, and that continues to follow suit. And I think one thing that we're dealing with right now, and I want to get your opinion on this as well. What do you think of the conspiracy community becoming mainstream? I want to pick your brain on that, because that was
Hold on, I've got to address something that you just said.
yeah.
You said that you were hopeful of more of mainstream society understanding this. And I wanted to interrupt and stop you there and say, no, they didn't. And similarly, just like they didn't after September 11th, I think 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, the conspiracy theorists, to include your question there, we weren't wrong. We weren't wrong. And I think 20 years from now, people are going to look back and say that the absolute destruction, total destruction of the United States government happened over the course of 2023 and 2024 across all three branches of government for various reasons and a lot of breakdown. And don't get me wrong, the government's going to continue. Project 2025 is going to continue. They'll rename it, they'll rebrand it, but it's going to continue. It has since 1980 or even the 1960s with the Southern Solution. It's still the same damn thing. The corporation will continue to maintain power. And AI will continue to grow. And for lack of a better phrase, it's getting real hard out there for a pimp.
It really is, man. And I'm hearing what you're saying, and I think, yes, in about 15, 20 years, we're going to be looking back at this period of time as the destruction of the United States, or at least as we know it now. And I mean, I do think, I currently feel that we are in a post-Constitution United States of America. I feel that 2020 was the reigner of that.
We're there. It doesn't work anymore. Nothing is working. And I think that instead of just straight nominating Kamala, we should have had a real conversation about where we are as a people. Because let's be honest, crooks missed.
I'm saying, dude, it's just blowing my mind right now. Everything. I mean, the fact that things have just, I mean, and I was talking with some people at work today, and I mean, I've been hearing people say this for a while now, but it is as if Idiocracy has truly become a documentary about our country at this
No,
point.
no, no. Even the actors that were in Idiocracy are saying that this is real life now.
I mean, you look at. I was laughing at the side by side comparison of what was it, Hulk Hogan at the Trump rally, and Terry Crews, and they were holding it up side by side. Man, it was uncanny. It was.
No, Terry Crews. That's who was like, man, this ain't a comedy anymore. It's a documentary.
It has.
It's been for so long, and that's even since Jonathan Swift or Aristophanes in the ancient Greek world. Satire tells the truth about the polity that you're in, the society you're in. The problem is too many people get distracted by laughing about it or getting upset about it and wanting to cancel it, that they forget that the really ugly thing is staring them right in the face, and we all know it, and we're letting the games and circuses distract us from the truth. And that keeps us from actually changing what needs to change, from having just a little while to talk about this.
It's the biggest thing too, man, is I feel like we're looking at this point in time. I call it WrestleMania USA 2024.
Dude, it might have been. And in that episode, dude, I want Joe Rogan and Donald Trump and whoever the Make Tony Laughs guy is, and the Barstool Sports One Bite One Pizza guy. I want them all sitting at an announcer table, right? And whoever's losing in the ring, I want Trump to say you're fired. And it'll be just as realistic as JD Vance debating Waltz whenever. Like, what difference does it make?
It's absolutely none, man. And it's like, and now we almost see what I would say is, even kind of touching back to what you were talking about, a cult, not a cult, but a cult. I mean, you can see this cult-like mentality starting on both sides. Yes, exactly. Both sides. It's almost as if, you saw the whole thing around, where people were wearing the Band-Aid over their ear.
Yep.
For Trump. Oh yeah.
Dude, I have delegates that I was texting that Sunday, state delegates to the Democratic National Convention, and I could not get a single one to say anything other than, I'm with her. And I was just amazed at how quick that happened.
The machine
worked. And I don't know about you, but whether it's an industrial machine or a political machine or an artificial intelligence machine, I don't want those machines making decisions for me. Like, we're living in the Matrix right now.
Very much so. Very much so, man. So I'm going to ask a hot topic here, or a hot button thing, because
good.
Yep. Let's ruffle some jammies, man, because that's what I like to do. What is your opinion on the assassination attempt? What is your opinion on it? This is something I haven't asked you, but I'd love to hear it. 100%.
All right.
Based off
of the information that was released into the public information, day 1, day 2. If I understand how the layout of that entire event worked properly, based on where Crooks was positioned, Geometry don't work that way. Like he would have been on the left side of Trump's head, not the right side, and he would have been broadside, not looking straight at him. And maybe I have the layout of where Trump was standing and where the dais was incorrect. But based on what I've seen, the geometry is wrong for it.
I would,
The-
yeah.
So there's a
See what you're
lot of
saying.
other there's a lot of other things that happen in the meantime, and we could talk about all of that, but I'm going to skip forward to like a week later. With everything going on, I got into this phase, which thank God I've gotten myself out of again, of scrolling through the various channels to see what the mainstream was telling people. And it was about a week later, Trump had a surprise interview with Laura Ingraham on Fox News, and the camera was focused broadside on his right side, basically the direction that Crooks would have been shooting. His ear was fine. There was no blood, there was no scabbing, there was no piercing, there was no loss of tissue. And I thought that was really interesting.
A lot of people did, man. The one thing I found profoundly interesting, though, was I guess the bomb or the supposed, explosive device that this individual had. Apparently, this guy has no military background, or the supposed shooter has, no military background, no knowledge on explosives and how to handle them properly. I mean, we're talking about a young 20-something-year-old kid who was in a BlackRock commercial, number one. And yeah,
We were going to talk about that too.
we're gonna
Thanks.
I'm leading into that. Yeah. So he's in a BlackRock commercial, and this guy has, like I said, no prior military experience and no prior experience that we know of, at least at this time, handling professional grade explosives. And the stuff that this guy had, you would have to know what you were doing or you'd be dead. And you know what I mean? That's what I found really interesting. But let's segue into that, man. Let's segue into the whole BlackRock commercial with this guy.
Before we do that, let me just say this: Bernays, etc. Pick a behavioral psychologist from the last 100 years, whether CIA connected or not. Develop techniques like this to find young and impressionable people to carry out these sort of Manchurian candidate missions. The United States government has been doing these things for a very, 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 very long time.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not saying necessarily that happened in this particular case. I'm just saying I ain't got all the information. Lucille, you got some explaining to do.
No, it is, man. I think that's something that a lot of people forget. Even talking false flags, which I feel in ways this was. People forget that the Boston Tea Party was a false flag. This has been the style of the United States for quite some time. This is what they do.
Yeah, it has been, but what has the United States become, and is it really something that you want to be on the side of?
Nope. Not at all.
D, none of the above.
D, none of the above. Exactly, man. And I think right now, a lot of people feel at this point in time that that the election might be stalled, or we might not be having one. We have some comments actually here, by the way.
Yeah, let's put the comments. What comments do we have? I can't see them.
We got Don and Spinja, a couple of people. So he said we were noticing The ugly literally drove us out. So yeah, they were just talking about how these polarities and this division. Don Spindle, what's up, guys? I didn't get a chance to even see you. We were talking, so thanks for being here. So he says they were talking about because they're in Canada and what they've been dealing with, and then I think society is the trap we are all trying to find. We have been spoon-fed addiction, compliance, and dependency on the system, and people trying to control us and manipulate our lives. What are your thoughts on that, man?
Pretty much.
pretty much, right?
I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, do I have zoning to have certain animals on my property? I gotta fucking look into that. Like, I'm being manipulated as to what I can do or not do. Can I build a shelter for my animals? It all depends, and it varies so much by locality to locality.
Exactly, dude. And I just think right now, man. I mean, you've taken a little bit of a self-sustainable approach to life at this point. You guys have some land where you're at, and we hear the ducks and the chickens and things like that in the background, which I think is awesome.
It's the emus and a turkey behind me.
Emus and a turkey behind you. Okay. And I
hope if none of your viewers right now know about the fantastic emu wars, go educate yourselves on the emu wars.
Dude, I need to check that out. I'm gonna write that down. I've got to listen.
If you ever get Parkway Drive on your show, ask them about ask them what they know about the emu wars.
Dude, I would love to have Parkway Drive on, man. I think they are you listen to the lyrics of some of their songs and they 100% know. You know what I mean? And that's something we talked about too when it comes to metal music, man, and rock music.
The messages are there. Like, they've been there. Megadeth can't stop talking about how nuclear arms are like a bad idea for the world. They haven't stopped talking about that since the 80s.
Dude, I'm telling you, man.
Rage Against the Machine, until they were Rage for the vaccine. There's a lot of bands that Motionless in White, Falling in Reverse. Like, there are a lot of bands that include some socially relevant lyrics. At the end of the day, we go headbang and we don't listen to we don't do anything about it after the concert's over.
Exactly. And I mean, I wanted to get your opinion on that too. I mean, so I feel in a lot of ways that rock and metal and punk rock have been phased out of the mainstream. And the reason why I feel like they've been phased out of the mainstream is, I just, even those lyrics by Parkway Drive that I posted from their song Crushed. I mean, it's very empowering music. It's very motivational.
Vice grip,
exactly. One life, one shot. Give it all you got, dude. I mean, it's I feel like that's why it was phased out of the mainstream and replaced with this syndicated bullshit. You saw that Taylor Swift was rated, what was it, the 7th best guitar player in the past 30 years, dude. It almost made me throw up in my mouth a little bit.
Good for her. Because you know what? Neither I nor anyone else that I know that has ever been a part of the metal and rock music scene in any subgenre or whatever through any decade has ever really cared what those charts said.
I'd say exactly, dude.
You know what I care about? Hold on. I'll tell you what I care about right now. I'll tell you exactly what I care about. I care about Gojira performing at the same damn prison that Marie Antoinette got her head cut off. With all of that as part of the background. singing a revolutionary song from 1790 in France that got their population going and cutting off the heads of tyrants and bureaucrats and aristocrats that were stealing money from the people. Gojira fucking did that. And nothing else of the Olympics matters. That was the thing. But you know what? I want everybody to look at that and say, hey, we're talking about Alabama putting the second person to death by hypoxia nitrogen. Why don't we start putting CEOs and politicians to death by guillotine? Is that okay? Can I say that on air?
Yes, you can. You can definitely say that here. And honestly, man, I think, you know, people have talked about this occurring at some point, man, and a lot of people theorize that a lot of these elites are building these gigantic doomsday bunkers not to escape a cataclysm, but to escape us when we find out. And what I guess I'm trying to get at here is when the veil is completely down and even the consensual public can see what's going on. And this is just another theory that's kind of been going around and floating around. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, that's a very possible thing. I mean, you know, that they could just be building these hideaways so when, you know, the shoe does drop, they have a way to escape from the mobs. I mean, this is just something that's just been floating around a lot recently.
You know what? I honestly want to sit down with them. I hate scotch, but they probably have scotch there, a really good bourbon. We'll sit down at their 14-person dining room table and we'll discuss this right now. That why is it that hoarding so much for yourself is more important than everyone around you being able to just survive?
As well, I would say that as well, man. I mean, there's a, you know, the illusion of scarcity is a real thing. You know what I mean? It's being kind of pushed down our throats each day. I mean, we look at, you know, the economy and the way it is. You know, we look at all of these quote unquote shortages. I mean, this is all done by design. You know,
yeah,
to keep people in this survival. Yeah,
the inflation of the past 4 years. Granted, inflation has been going up for a long time now across multiple administrations, red and blue. But the inflation over the past 4 years really has been a corporate siege.
I would agree.
They're just upcharging as much as they can. McDonald's, Wendy's, Target, all of them are coming out saying that, oh, we're going to reduce our prices, blah, 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 blah.
And it's funny, man. I mean, I think we're getting to what I would call this point. I mean, we're getting to this point, man, where, you know, I mean, it looks like they're looking for some kind of civil unrest at this point. It seems that they want to, just like you said earlier with the Parkway Drive song, Vice Grip. You know, they want us in this vice grip. They want to continue to tighten down this vice.
You know, I honestly imagine sometimes what civil unrest at this particular moment might look like. And I really can't see a way that it works because of how intertwined we really are. You don't know whose side you might be on, because one of the things that our wonderful government has and these corporations have set up is a left versus right. But, you know, there's a plurality amongst the actual populace that doesn't get a vote, that gets excluded, and there are voices that get missed in all of that. They get brought into or underneath an umbrella, so to speak. And so if we were to have some severe civil unrest, what you're going to have is people being upset about police brutality. It's a clear violation. But with any other violation, how do you respond to somebody that lives right next door to you that has, I don't know, $10,000 invested in the power company that's increased your profit or their profit 18% year over year while everybody's struggling to pay their bills?
That's facts, man. And I think at this point, I mean, even when it comes to a civil war, I think it's going to be different if it does occur. I think and this is something also I wanted to talk to you about. I think we're going to I mean, I'm not saying there won't be any kind of physical fight. I think that will showcase itself in definitely a few instances if we're dealing with something like that. But I think what we'll be dealing with is a mental type of warfare if something like this truly goes on. And I mean, that just seems to be the playing field that we're in right now. I mean, what do you think about that? Do you think that if there is ever some kind of civil war that's supposed to break out, like we will have physical fighting, don't get me wrong, but it's going to be a very heavy dose of psychological warfare. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
The multiple corporations that engineer all of this, whether it's through media, through food, through the politicians that are selected, they'll never let it come to this. Like, we've been, and you can attest to this. You and I were there, my friend. We have been at the seething breaking point of this for 15, 20 years. How long now?
Shit, man, a very long time. It's been a very long time. And I'm glad you brought that up because I think and you might agree with this statement as well. I think what we have, man, is what I call a slow decommissioning. And the reason why I call it this slow decommissioning, I mean, you've been on this longer than I have practically. I mean, 2008 for me, earlier before you. I mean, we look at a lot of the things that were supposed to happen from that time till now. And I'm sure you can attest to me with me on this is COVID was the very first thing in those years, that decade, that was the first maneuver that actually, at least from what I could see, at least.
No. I'm going to slightly disagree with you.
Okay, what do you think?
I'm going to concur in parts and dissent in parts. Okay.
Okay, I want to hear your dissent. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. However, I think I'm going to start with September 11th. Second gear is going to be the combination of Obamacare, ACA, and the stock market crash of 2008. Third gear is going to be COVID.
Third gear. So no, that you are absolutely right about that. I kind of overlooked that. And what do you think fourth gear could potentially be at this point?
I don't know. I'm popping popcorn and I'm drinking and I'm just trying to live as an outlaw below the radar, not really doing anything because my seatbelt's buckled and, we're in for some turbulence one way or the other.
Gotcha. I'm with you, man. And I was gonna say I appreciate where you're at right now. I was gonna say that's a good place to be, honestly.
Uh-oh. Excuse me. Hold on.
Yep.
Got it. The emus have broken out of their pen. I have to attend.
No worries, man. We're gonna end up we're probably, if
I
you
don't know
gotta
if you
handle
can
that,
see
no.
them. I'm trying to show them to you. I don't know if that's coming through in video, but there they are.
Oh wow. No, let's see if I can make they got it. How did they get out?
Because they're fucking smart.
Because this is Jurassic Park. Because we have Velociraptor descendants, and they're clever girls and boys.
Well, there you go, man. Well, shit, dude. Well, do you need to handle that?
No, we got it. We're good.
You sure? You sure? Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
We had an emu escape, man.
When will you ever have that on your show ever again?
Never, dude. I'm loving this, man. It's like this is the first emu escape I've had ever. And honestly, man, sitting down and talking with somebody as knowledgeable as you is great, man. And
we've been trying to set it up for a good hunt, and
I know, man. I know, dude.
I feel like there's a lot more to follow up on, and there's a lot more places we could go.
I'm with you, man. Well, I mean, if you have time, we can go some of those places. But if you got to hop off and attend, man, I totally understand that too. It's not a big deal at all.
No, man, the wife's got it. She's got us hooked up. We're safe.
All right, man. All right, man. So let's hit it for a little longer here, man. So let's talk about these places, man. Let's hit these places up real quick. So the first place I'd like to go is this place. How do you feel right now about what's going on in the anarchist community and how disorganized they have become?
Couldn't tell you.
You haven't been paying attention?
Absolutely, right, because you know what? Yeah. No. I have a very good answer for this, and I'm going to stand by this. So when I retired from all of this, when I dropped off of the face of the world, just walked straight off of the flat earth, right? It was for family. And in all of these intervening years, everything that I have been doing is for family. And let me tell you, being an anarchist with children is an absolute impossibility. It will make you rethink every single one of your principles.
Anarchy can only exist with logic.
The wife says anarchy can only exist with logic.
Well, so this is actually something good for the parents, because you two, I've seen your posts throughout the years. And I have a lot of friends who are anarchists that are becoming parents as well. So let's dive into that a little bit. Let's dive into some of that experience. So what kind of made you have that realization? I mean, was it
go back to minarchy.
Okay.
Go back to the small communities. Go back to Kevin planting corn and Stephen planting tomatoes and Alex planting peppers or lettuce or cucumbers, zucchini. Somebody's raising the pigs or the goats. Somebody's got poultry, all in the same community, and they all work together on a small scale so that everybody is taken care of and has what they need.
I'm with you on that.
I can't be mad at an Amish community with 110 or however many it was Amish guys going in strong arm, lifting up a barn and moving it to wherever they needed to go.
I saw that. That was pretty interesting. That was very interesting, man. I mean, I'm just curious, that I was just curious on that for you guys, man, because I remember you making a post on, like, when you have children and you're an anarchist, it gets conflicting.
Because anarchy is no gods, no masters. But at least that was the slogan, right? But
Yes.
there's still rules. There's still basic core boundaries. Like, you don't assault anybody. I think that's pretty damn basic.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to instill that into a child whose natural instinct is to assault somebody. And then you look at a 70 or 80-year-old man that their entire mindset is to assault an entire people. Like, there's a TikTok or short or whatever going around about let my baby do something, let her scream in the restaurant. No, I don't let her do anything. She is a living human being and does what she wants to do. She does what she will. The thing is that the thing of parenthood is that you teach them how to behave in society according to rules that the people that govern society themselves do not follow.
That's a very good point. That's an excellent point, because that almost seems like it cancels itself out in a lot of different ways.
No, I'm going to let that one linger, and I hope anybody watching writes that one down. Somebody quote me on that. Somebody somewhere.
I'm writing it down now. I'm writing it down right now. I got you. So yeah, man. Well, the one thing I got to commend you for, man, is making that choice for focusing on family. And look at where it's brought you, dude. I mean, you have a wonderful life. You know what I mean? And I think, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not bad. There's a lot of trials and tribulations, but yeah, it's not bad.
And I think you're a good point, man, because that's something that I think should be heavily focused on right now is family, because I feel that each day, or as we move further into whatever movie we're in at this point in time,
right?
That's something that's being phased out, that family factor, and I don't think people understand how exactly important that is. And I think just the fact that you made that choice to step away from what you were doing at that time and to focus on family, I think that speaks volumes, man.
There was never going to be anything that I could do on a macro level to influence the course of things. I tried. God knows I tried. And I've been punched in the gut when Raif Badawi did not get the Nobel Peace Prize, when the United States for the second time started bombing, when the politicians locally here in the state that I've worked for that really had some good policies that this state needed, not only didn't get elected, but got convicted and sent in prison for shit that they didn't do. Like, it's been a lot.
I think you got
the only thing that I can do is, since I've committed the sin of having children, I have to atone by doing everything I can to prepare them for the world that they're growing into, which is a world that I can't control or contain, that has threats coming at it that are so far advanced from what I'm equipped to deal with.
You there, man? I think you broke up a little bit.
I said, and for the time that I'm here, make sure that the foundations and the secure attachments to be able to handle whatever does come, that mom or dad isn't going to be able to help them through.
So I want you to see this. So like everybody's rooting you on in the comments, man. They're rooting you on for what you just said. And we have a comment from Canadian Spinja here. I have actually apologized to my son for how this world is. Is that something you've had to do in your experience, or?
No, I feel bad for bringing children into this world. Like, I love my kids. I wanted to have my kids. I don't regret having children at all. I regret that this is the world that they live in, and that for the time that I had before they got here, I wasn't able to make it better for them. And now this is what they have to deal with.
Well, the one thing I do want to say is this, man. Like, I think you've made it better for them in ways you haven't just totally realized yet. I think the fact of where you come from, in your background and Sneeth's background too. I think you guys have, and just in a different way. I know you feel kind of let down about not doing it on the macro level. I mean, dude, I understand that
Oh,
fight.
I'm not dead yet. Stop right there. I'm not dead yet.
No, you're not. I know, dude. I know you.
Nope. I do not accept that. Nope.
She says she wanted to say this. So here we go. So you'll appreciate this, man. So Spin just said, "Thank you, Alex. You are saying everything that I've been feeling as a parent."
Big hugs.
so for sure, man. But no, man, don't sell yourself short. I think you in ways you've given them a glimpse in the upbringing that you are doing your best, and I guarantee you're going to see the fruits of that labor. So don't let it yeah, you know what I mean?
No, Logan, the 13-year-old, he asked if we could watch this tomorrow as part of his homeschool.
Absolutely, man. I'd be honored for that. That'd be awesome.
It just no, this is I told him it depended on how the conversation went and how vulgar your dad was, but we'll see tomorrow. No, I'm absolutely going to throw this on for them tomorrow.
Yeah, dude, definitely, man. And that's something, man. I understand the fight, dude. I do, man. I've this is my way of doing what I can right now, with the means that I have. And it is, man. It's almost like in some ways I'm staring at this gigantic wall. And like it's like in some days the wall appears larger, and some days it appears, not as big as the day before, but I'm still regardless like staring at this wall. And I found the weak point in the wall, though. I know what it is. but
I gotta quote Bruce Lee right now.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, man, I know the weak point, and this is the caveat. It's a caveat as well. The weak point is us, the people, and we're basically, we're basically the holding the wall up, and that's the double-edged sword in this, man.
Well, the thing is that number one, and this is another thing that to the world I apologize for, because I've been pondering it for 25 plus years. I haven't figured out a solution for. There's no really good solution for what could be next. Number one. Number two, how do you get the people through the transition from what is now to what is there? And in destroying this environment, this artificial environment, this capitalist, debt influenced, whatever environment that we have, what else gets destroyed in the meantime? And are we ready to, as a people, assume those costs when those at the very top are able to maintain such profits from it? And without a clear vision of the future or a way to help transition a global society forward, you're kind of stuck with the status quo, and the people that control the things are going to keep pushing the Project 25s and the project resets and everything that the United States government and the Federal Reserve have been doing since 1913 and even before.
You know, you're gonna love this. So it just said also, be the change. That's all we can do. I see others watching, and I also see many little things come about, which I mean, I do agree with that. And I mean, dude, in a lot of ways, you are being the change.
No, I mean, absolutely. I've taken up a trade instead of utilizing any professional degree. So have you. You moved from where you were to where you are now in order to pursue certain more self-sustaining tasks. We maintain a flock of animals for various reasons.
Very, I
We're
love
doing
it,
what
man.
we can to be the change.
It is, man. You know, and I think, you know, what I feel right now is, you know, there could be a solution, and it could be almost in some ways. One of the things I've realized is a lot of this is hidden in plain sight, and excuse me, it takes a shift in perspective, I guess you could say, to kind of pull down our own veils a little bit and to kind of see things in a different light. I mean, and that's just how I feel. I'm curious how you, what your thoughts are on that, but I think, you know, maybe eventually, as we move forward and as we all develop more and as we all grow more, that maybe in some ways this solution could potentially produce itself.
I mean, for whoever is watching or listening, that veil that he was speaking of is going to be a different thing for everyone. And anyone who's had the veil pulled down, if they end up being a gatekeeper or whatever, go find someone else. You don't need that in your life. But there are so many things on a day-to-day basis that even the mainstream media talks about that should absolutely be able to rip that veil down and no longer support it. But the double-edged sword of that is that at least in the country that you and I live, good sir, like it's almost impossible. Like the macaroni and cheese that we are forced to buy here is not the same macaroni and cheese that is available in France, and it's from the same company.
Oh no, 100%, man. And that's, you know, I was even looking at what was it, the egg McMuffin. Like you know, it's like I don't like McDonald's. I never was really a fan of McDonald's, but you know, there was a period of time I did like egg McMuffins. But you look at the egg McMuffin over in Europe, it's got like 5 ingredients. It's got wheat, water, sugar, Canadian bacon, an egg, and some cheese. And then it's like you look at it's real cheese, exactly. Yes, real cheese. And then you look at the egg McMuffin over here in the United States, and those 5-6 ingredients become 50 ingredients. It's yeah,
Red
it's
40.
Yeah, dude, you'll love this, man. So like, you know,
Red 40.
dude, you'll love this, man. So, you know, my wife makes sourdough bread, so she has her own starter. She does all of that, and during the week when we eat, we do this thing called for the most part it's pretty clean. It's clean stuff. We do this thing called Hello Fresh just for dinners because we're spread thin on time, but it's all like natural ingredients, all whole ingredients. But it was so funny, man. They sent us this ciabatta roll for this meal we were having, and I turned over the ciabatta roll and I looked at the ingredients, and there was like 30 ingredients, and I looked at her and I was like, "You make bread." I was like, "I see what goes into that bread, okay?" And I know what goes into that bread, and there's only like 5 ingredients that go into that bread. So I'm curious on how they fit fucking 20, 30 ingredients into this fucking little tiny ciabatta roll. I was like, I'm not eating it. Tossed it the fuck out.
Yeah,
But
no,
it's definitely something else, man. Well, you know what, man? Let's wind down for tonight. I want to have you on for round 2.
yeah,
So
the sun
we
is set behind me. I'm losing light over here.
Yeah, you're all good. You're all good, man. So real quick, why don't you tell, if you're okay with that, why don't you let everybody who's listening know where they can find you if they'd like to follow you, or look at some of your articles that you've wrote throughout the years as well.
So I will say that if anybody goes to the Ron Paul Institute for Peace and Prosperity website, I think it's ronpaul.org, just search their articles for George Soros seeks to co-own Ukraine, and you'll find an example of past work. You should be able to go on Amazon and search for a collection of short stories, poems, etc. that I published many years back called Bold New World.
So real quick, man, somebody wants to interview you, if you're down, a fellow podcast on my network, Don Rogers and March 4th Productions and Canadian Spinja. They want to have you on potentially to talk about off-grid and alternative living. So we can chat about that afterwards if you're okay with that. Yeah. So
absolutely. Otherwise, it's Alan Thomas on Facebook. I don't have anything else. In the purges of Mark Zuckerberg years ago, my Alex Freeman account got shut down, and I just didn't try to build it up again. And like I said, I've just been over here. I don't need to be famous. I don't need to be on stage, and I can just live my life and raise my family. So
I love it, man. I love that. I was going to say, you and I have done it probably an equivalent amount of time in Facebook jail. Throughout the years.
The mark of distinction. I have combat medals. I am a Mean War veteran. Like, I don't care about Tim Waltz's 24 years in the National Guard. I don't care that the little Bush kid got put in the National Guard just so that he could say that he was military service, or any of the kids over across the pond in England or wherever that they were in the military service. No, that doesn't matter. I was the Mean War veteran. I went through the hard wars.
I can attest to that. I can attest to that, man. Well, man, hang out for just a sec. I want to chat with you for a sec. But other than that, guys, I want to thank you all for joining me for another BG-Cast Wednesday Live podcast. I will be back next week with a solo show. We are going to be discussing Maya, the Veil of Illusion. And we're going to be breaking down that concept and what it means and why we should be paying attention to this and how it could potentially help us in our lives. Other than that, everybody, thanks for joining us tonight. Appreciate everybody who was here. Don, Spinja, everybody, thanks again. And other than that, guys, I'll see you next week, same time. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.
Buona sera.